Well, here we are ready to have another look at the month ahead, this time for September. Of course, the year couldn't be flying by fast enough for most of us, but we've still got quite a bit of it yet to go. And the cycles that we've been in, which have been so challenging for us, are of course not done yet. You probably know that last year and early this year, I spoke about the impending crisis, which at that time I assumed was war, and as I described it in January, every country in the world is going to go into crisis. And myself and all astrologers have been watching this impending 2020 crisis for years. And one of the characteristics that made us think it's most likely to be war on a global scale was an escalation of aggression and violence that is simultaneous with this great big cycle of social change that we are seeing unfold before our very eyes. It is not surprising to learn that the aggressive component of that cycle really escalated during the month of August. Exactly at the time we witnessed the terrible explosion in Beirut, and in fact that same week there were 9 other major explosions around the world that just got a bit less press. And those are good symbols, unfortunately, for the growing power of Mars. So what we now start facing as we enter September, and more or less until the end of the year, we see a strong focus of this planet Mars, which symbolizes aggression and rioting and potential violence, escalating over the next 2 months and then again in the month of December. So the rattling of sabers is not necessarily over. It's not just about the virus, it's also about the conflict that is mounting between the United States and China, which in worst case scenario could lead to actual physical conflict, although that's not so likely anymore, but we are going to see further escalation of that. More riots in the States, more service delivery protests in South Africa, and probably increasing so-called unrest elsewhere in the world as the differences and the aggression between opposing forces seems to rise. Here in South Africa, of course, we do have a lot of opposition and conflict manifesting through land invasions, conflicts with the various metro police and with the government over land issues, as well as other service delivery issues. And that we're also going to see increasing over this next month. However, for the most part, South Africa is out of the mainstream of the major global conflict phase that we're seeing, and we have enough of our own concerns, and that is the economic challenge that has arisen out of this combination of the critical economic collapse that the COVID virus caused, and of course the government's corruption and stealing of that money. When we look at the charts for the month ahead, that is one of the first things that pops out. All the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. I've spoken about it many times, and also in the last 2 months, and the chart continues to indicate that there's all sorts of things going on behind the scenes, which includes still a lot of the looting. While a lot more will come out into the open over the next month, a lot more of that behind the scenes, underhanded machinations continue to go on. From the astrological point of view, we're going to see that all the way through to the end of the year and possibly into the early part of the year. It's a little bit like, wow, all this corruption comes out into the open, and we think, okay, good, they're finally dealing with it, and at the same time, behind the scenes, all the corruption continues to escalate. A lot of what's going on behind the scenes has political purposes. It's not just about the money. So, as I was saying, we've got our own internal wars to worry about before worrying about ourselves as part of some larger global scale. Where we look at the chart, we do see that service delivery is our biggest concern. We do see that there is going to be some advance made on that, and that it's possible that there will be some political changes with regards to that in terms of policies, in terms of relaxations of some policies. A softer approach looks like it's coming along. At the same time, we're getting a lot more incoming resources from our friends and bankers, I guess. It does look like there's more loaned money coming in. And once again, the matter of where the money goes and etc. is part of the corruption and the stealing of money that you don't need an astrologer anymore to tell you is going on. But it certainly looks like we're getting more and more help, and hopefully enough of that is injected into the right places to continue to increase the economy, the economic situation, which will recover a little bit faster than we might be expecting. Over the next couple of months, we can see some strengthening, and certainly as we go into the new year, and a longer term perspective on that shows that gradually over the next 2 years we can recover very well. But of course we don't know how much stealing and how much undermining of that the government and its people are willing to do. So that will unfold as the years go by and we continue to look on a month-to-month basis. But right now, despite the ongoing corruption, it does look like between the incoming money as well as the situation on the ground here, we are actually able to make some moves towards recovery. If I were able to say anything to everyone, then I would say be very vigilant. As obvious as it sounds, the charts still make it clear that the wool is being pulled over our eyes with respect to money, with funds, with all of those things. We know about the corruption, we know what has come out into the open, all of that remains true, but the chart insists we yet are having the wool pulled over our eyes when it comes to money. So be vigilant, be on the ball, be all about it. On the subject of on the ball, last month I was saying that some development in our sporting world will help to uplift South African spirits, and of course we were all delighted to see Brad Binder's victory in the Czech Grand Prix, coming from nowhere. He's a rookie. South Africa's never won something like that before, and it happened at just the right time. So take a leaf from the inspiration that happens when we pull together, back the same guy, and fight the same battle. And hopefully we'll be able to be talking about something a little bit different in a couple of months' time. For now, let's talk about what you can expect in the month ahead for you. Aries, for the most part, this is a month to kind of lie low wherever possible. The potential for conflict or disagreement and argument is very strong. It's your planet Mars that is feeling a little agitated. And worst case is that can get you into conflict situations where you come off second best. Even though the Mars is very strong at the moment, it's supposed to be operating behind the scenes for you. This is a really good time to focus on what needs to be done in the home and around the house. Put your energy into something, but mostly keep it close at hand. Don't at this time reach out for new goals or try new things or start new things out there. There will be plenty of time for that in the coming months. People close to you, such as family members, especially siblings, are a great source of help and support at this particular time, and also might seem to be the only people who can really understand you. So it's a great time to get together with family and to use that as your safe space, your kind of get yourself back together and get ready for a new phase that starts only in October and again in the new year. So Aries, buckle up for a while and you'll get back out there in the next month. Taurus, even though everyone is supposed to get busy during the hard lockdown because what else was there to do, you might have hit a bit of that Taurian inertia during that long phase. Well, that's definitely ending now. Kind of in anticipation of the very imminent spring, you're getting yourself going. There's a lot to be done, and this is the time to put your energy into it, especially things that you've meant to do around the house, your car, your own very personal possessions, all the things that you've been sweeping under the carpet or delaying that you should have even done during the lockdown phase. This is go for it. In fact, it looks like you're working so hard this month that you could be doing it all yourself, but that's not the thing to do. Both in the personal stuff at home as well as any major chores, work, effort that needs to happen in your professional life, this is the time to get help, not from the usual sources. It's a great opportunity to revise how you've been doing things and who you've been relying on to do the things that you need to do and get the work done that you need to get done. Bit of a change of the people around you will really help make advances in that hard work that needs to be done. This is an opportunity to clear out the space and find your equilibrium again just in time for spring. Geminis, well, we know that you love to do millions of things at the same time, and it looks just like that's what's been going on. So actually, Gemini, you can afford to take a little bit of a break. For the last little while, you've managed to fill all your time with so many things to do that you're beginning to forget about some important things in your life, like some important people in your life. Your relationship could be taking a bit of strain because you simply are not paying enough attention, or you've just got too much else going on in your life. So cool down, Gemini. This is in fact a great time to delegate. It looks like there's a lot of help coming to you from people, and there's a lot of potential help coming to you from people, meaning that people are ready to help and willing to help. We're kind of just waiting for you. So draw on your favors, don't be shy to ask, and in fact, the charts also show that there could even be some financial or other resources that will come to you from other people if you just step back and let it come in. Let them do it for you a little bit. Don't try and do everything yourself. So focus on the fun, focus on the relationship, kind of get your priorities in order and cut down on all the things that are in your plate. It is a great time to benefit from the help from others, but that means you can afford to not do it all yourself. Cancerians, things are really beginning to go well for you this month, but you might have a little bit of difficulty believing it, and you need to open up to that a little bit. Finally, some issues or problems you've been facing over the previous months have found a new way to resolve, and that of course is also from the input of other people. There's new people in your life who can somehow help or provide a solution to an old problem. This is a great time to get it fixed. In fact, people are willing to help and people are willing to shower you with love at this time. You've just got to be willing to receive it. In a bit of a balance with that, it does look like you are in a phase of a little bit of overreacting, too much sensitivity to different people around you, and especially to those close to you. That's what you do need to be a little bit careful of. Relationships with friends, with lovers, and in particular with females might be prone to that. So be cool, take it slowly. Don't read into stuff too much, because that's mostly what's getting you off the track, and rather focus on how things and people are willing to really offer you support and help at this time. It does look like there's also great new information you can get that's going to help with some of your projects, and if you're lucky and circumstances allow it, this is also a great time for traveling somewhere for you. Maybe it's only local distance travel, but there's going to be great resources and people who also come into this from travel. It's looking great, Cancerians. Leos, this is the time to get your house in order. It's kind of like spring cleaning before spring really hits us. So mostly that applies to your professional life. Financial circumstances need to be sorted out, whether it's old debts that need to be paid off or some issues you've been having for the last few months that you could now clear up. You might even need to restructure and re-strategize. Where is my income coming from and what are my goals? This is really a good time to be setting new goals and perhaps even the starting phases of pursuing those new goals. But first you actually need to get the house in order and get all the stuff that hasn't been addressed about money back in order again. It also looks like, in terms of your personal relationships, a little bit of the same can be done as well. There are people around you who could actually be a source of help and assistance, and there are those that are getting in your way, and this is the time to sort out the difference between them. And just remember, those who shout the loudest are not necessarily those who are going to offer you the best kind of assistance. Getting goals and people and everything into action does mean that in your personal one-to-one relationships, you're going to be challenged to find time, but find the time. You don't want to start new conflicts over there. By the time spring comes, you're ready. Virgos, happy birthday. But it looks like you might have got yourself into that very Virgo trouble, unique to you, of being too helpful. Too helpful probably means you've been helping out where you didn't need to and where it wasn't even your responsibility to. And while being helpful seemingly is always a good thing, it gets you into two problems. One of them is that stuff doesn't get done for you, or you don't get to do your own stuff, and you've been putting your energies into other people's things. And secondly, you don't really get any positive feedback, reward, or anything else in return. Worst case, you could actually find yourself feeling resentful and angry. That would be your warning sign. Things are not working out in my relationships of people, professional or personal, whatever it may be, but you'll only have yourself to blame because you've been giving too much. So Virgo, this month is about getting boundaries in place, starting afresh once your birthday passes and it's kind of your personal new year, being very clear what you want, what you need, and how you are going to do it for yourself. In fact, maybe even how others can help you for a change. That'll help you find a better balance, because truth is, there's still great stuff coming to you through other people and from other people. Rather let it be a two-way street. You can offer your help and you'll get great things in return. Librans, it looks like it's a little bit of a sensitive month for you. So maybe you can do well to kind of lay low and stay behind the scenes where possible. It does look like something is going on in your personal life that is making you feel a little of that sensitivity. You might even be feeling whether it's teary or some other negative kind of emotions. And the charts show that actually what's really going on is a bit of a sensitive phase at the moment. Your reactions are strong, your sensitivity is strong, you're kind of more tuned in than usual, which would normally be a good thing, but this time it's a little bit too much of a good thing. So remind yourself that for the most part, what people do and say works at the surface. You don't have to read anything into it. You don't have to look behind the lines or behind the scenes to see what's really going on. But it is better for you to minimize how much of that input you're going to get. And spending time alone or with close loved ones will be much more rewarding to you. Even with your personal relationships, though, you do need to be careful of that oversensitivity and overreaction. On the other hand, there's lots of things that can be done that are just about putting your energy into it and putting your shoulder to the wheel. Do that. Exhaust yourself. Put your energy where it works the most. Personal relationships will clear up soon. Scorpios, for the most part, things are finally aligning for you during this month, and you'll be able to get a lot of your missions going. Your goals, your ambitions, and the fulfillment of them are all strong for you at this particular time. It doesn't mean it's going to be smooth sailing all the way, though. It does look like there's a fairly strong potential for some kinds of interpersonal conflict with people in your professional environment, people who have been quiet or hidden for a while, and that's what you actually need to be more sensitive to. It's a little bit like there are people coming onto the scene, crawling up from between the cracks, who haven't been there, for better and for worse. Some of them seem to be blocking or obstacles. Some of them suddenly want a piece of the action. All of them need to know that this is the month where you do it for yourself, and the only help and support you're going to get or need are from people who are already in that position for you. Do be careful that some of the conflict that's showing in your chart is shown as your own frustration and impatience escalating it or creating it in the first place. Be careful not to react too strongly to things that you are actually not in control of. Focus on what you're doing and how your helpers can work for you. Those things that are in your way that you're not in control of, avoid, because that's where the unnecessary conflict happens. Sagittarians, it is going to take a little while to get your house in order financially after all this difficult time that we've been facing, but it's starting at last. Be very careful with money during this month because it actually is trying to build up for you. Money is coming in, but why you want to be careful is that you need to recover from what's gone before. You need to kind of build your resources again. They are trying to do that. It's not going to be as dramatically easy as it might sound. It's a slow and difficult process shown in your chart that's really in anticipation of 2021 is going to be a way better year for you than this one was. But the fact still remains, it starts over here. So start getting those foundations and that strength back in place. At this time, you also need to start identifying some people or situations that have been acting as obstacles in your life. It's time to eliminate those where possible. You know, one of the things is that there's sources of gain and income and things that are really wanting to find you at this time. And it's a little bit like some of the old baggage is standing in the way. Admit it once and for all. Those people are not going to help. That's not going to work for you. Clear the space. Let the new in and start that building of resources. Slow but sure. Hang on to it. Capricorn, it might feel as if your patience is about to expire. This is not the time to let that happen. You're going to have to persist on the paths that you're on now for yet a couple of months. What is important about this particular time is not to sink into melancholy and despair. You've persisted and survived very well during this time that we've experienced, and now is not the time to lose that impetus in any way. So stay with yourself and be strong and realize that your longer term plans and longer term goals are still going to work for you. It's just a question of patience, and for the most part, patience is not something you're short of, so you should actually be fine with that. There are people from the past and situations from the past that actually need to be sorted out a little bit. And that's a good place to put your attention. At the same time, there are people from the past who are a really good source of strength and support and friendship. Identify those, concentrate on those, and in terms of the ones from the past, this is also the time for you to let go of old baggage and clear out what you've been carrying. Look at who you've been carrying for some time and realize that in order to finish your path now, you have to divest yourself of all the unnecessary baggage, even when it is people. That'll help you not feel so burdened and overburdened, and maybe even just to get some light relief by having fun and spending time with friends. Aquarius, you might be feeling raring to go and it's all about you, and finally those goals are in sight. And in fact, over the last couple of months, it does look like you've been able to make significant progress. And now this is one of those times when you just need to take a bit of a pause to deal with some other matters that have arisen. It looks like there is something important going on in your personal life that needs your attention, even if you don't think so or don't like the idea of. You're in danger of losing some territory or ground in that area in some way. And that means, Aquarians, this is a time to assert yourself on the personal front, even if it's some old stuff that has resurfaced, or it's that I can't believe I'm doing this again. It's necessary in order for you to clear your own path at this time to deal with whatever's going on in your personal life. On the other hand, in your closest relationships, romantic relationships and those one-to-one relationships, there's really the possibility of great strength and support coming from someone else. And in fact, the chart literally says that the people closest to you are most useful to you at this time, meaning what you need is going to come from the people closest to you, even if you only can see that after another month. So it's actually cool to put aside some of the drive and the goals and ambitions you are going to be getting back there. And once you get there in another month, it'll turn out that this month actually gave you some steps along the way in some of the help that you'll need. Pisces, it's all about strategy for you this month. It might seem that the path that you've been on has either petered out or come to some dead end, or maybe it just hasn't given you the kind of fulfillment or return that you're expecting or looking for. But don't despair. It's really just a question of new strategies and solving new problems in order to do that. In fact, there are things that you can do and need to do that aren't happening because you kind of don't think of yourself that way. You don't think of yourself as capable of that, or that that's going to be something that you succeed at. And this is the time to jump right in at the deep end and discover things that you're capable of that you didn't know, and maybe even change your perspective on yourself in the process. More significantly, there are direct and explicit rewards that are implied from that behavior in your chart. It'll turn out to be quite a good month for money, for new connections, and for discovering what's possible and available to you from the people around you. But you have to get out of your comfort zone and jump in at the deep end in order for that to happen. Sounds like it could be quite exciting, but it does mean for now, just readjust. Don't keep on chasing whatever it is that's been on that path. It's time for a whole new look. That's what's going to allow for this whole new version of yourself and perspective of yourself to really shine. Spring might still be another month away, but it looks like things are beginning to thaw. Have a great month, and I'll see you next week.